Let me ask you a question. Do you think your driver suits your game? In this video, we are going to be talking about what style of driver will suit your game and what type of club is going to help you uncover your full potential off the tee. I also have my own personal recommendations, 12 drivers in this bag that I've used in competitions before and I've done extensive testing on. There are some surprise inclusions, so make sure you stay tuned for the rest of the video. Now, the first thing that I can't recommend enough is getting fitting in with your local PGA Pro. If you don't know your specs, there's really not much point in upgrading. So for example, I'm currently hitting drives here and I'm getting away okay, they're going fairly straight, but actually I'm leaving quite a bit of performance on the table. So you can see here the total spin number there of 4,450. Now that means that that ball is spinning up too much, so it's getting held, it's not launching into the distance and then rolling on. So this driver, it has an X-stiff shaft in it, but the loft on it is 12.5 degrees. So the launch is about 14 degrees, but then it's spinning up quite a lot and therefore losing distance. If the loft was too low, then the chances are the launch would be really low. It would have very little backspin, but it actually wouldn't gain enough height. The ideal is to try and get somewhere in the middle, a perfect Goldilocks zone. Yeah, that is a slight difference there. The separating factor here was simply the loft. So the first shot I hit with this driver, the loft on the club head was 12.5. The second drive I hit, the loft was at 8.5, so a 4-degree difference. So both drives launched at pretty much the same angle, so 13.9 and then 13.4, but the ball flight was completely different. That's because the spin was reduced, and rather than the ball stalling up in the air, it had much more of a rainbow-like trajectory. I would prefer if I got it launching even higher than that, so around kind of 15, 16 degrees. And if that shot had the same amount of spin at 1900, it would be an absolute bomb. So as mentioned, that's the importance of getting that fitting. You need to understand what is happening with your club head and if you can get more out of it to begin with. Now, once you know your specs, there are 4 types of categories of drivers that you need to be looking out for. So we have value, we have forgiveness, we have X factor, and then we have distance. So we have all these drivers to get through, and they've all been supplied through our good friends at Golf Bidder. Golf Bidder, they've been a partner of the channel for many years now. They are the finest purveyors of second-hand golf clubs on the internet. And I really wanted to do this video, so Golf Bidder just let me free in their warehouse to pick these clubs. So if you do want more information on Golf Bidder, head down into the description and check them out there. So when you're looking for a driver which offers value for money, what does that actually mean? So for me, that says a golfer who has a driver they don't like at the moment, they're looking for an upgrade, but they just don't want to spend that much cash. So the drivers I've chosen in this category are all premium. They were very expensive when they came out and have now had quite a big drop in price. And first up is this, the M2 driver from TaylorMade. Now I went to the original launch of these drivers over in the States, and I have to say, even now, popping this driver down behind the ball, even after so many years, it still looks like a really good premium driver. And considering that's my first swing of the day, it's also gone straight down the middle. And the beauty of this driver is in its simplicity. So they've removed half the crown, made it with carbon. That allows them to put more weight towards the back of the club, making it a forgiving driver. It feels great, it looks great. So especially if you're a golfer who's only starting their journey within this game and they're looking for a really good premium forgiving club, I think the M2 is a really good option. And that's 2 down the middle. I always leave these tests with about 6 drivers in mind to go in my bag. Now, if you're looking for a good value driver from a very reputable brand, you can't really go much further than Ping. In fact, this section I could have filled up with Ping drivers. This is the G410, however, and it's a very underrated club. This is the plus version and it gives options. So you can move this back weight to a draw or a fade bias. The shaft sleeve is also adaptable. You can move it 1.5 degrees in either direction. When it's behind the ball, it's got the turbulators and the aerodynamic technology on the top. And this as well looks like a modern driver. It's a few years old now. which of course still classifies it as being modern. But if you gave me this club and I had no idea about drivers, you could easily convince me that this was brand new. That's the other big thing about Ping drivers. They are made to last. One of the reasons why Ping have got such a good reputation is that they don't release loads of drivers. We'll be getting into this a little bit later on within this video. But they don't like completely oversaturate the market. Longest one so far today. Another new driver in the bag. So within this value category, my top recommendation is the Cobra King F9. As you can see, this is a very vibrant golf club. It has shelf appeal, but that is not what makes this driver special. So a few years ago when this came out, Cobra were an okay driver company. They were making good products, but this one was in the bag of so many golfers around the world because they just undercut their competitors that year by about 100 quid. It's got movable weights in the bottom, which can make it a little bit lower spinning or more forgiving. It's got an adaptable shaft sleeve. Looking down on it, it's got the carbon crown, some nubbins on the top for aerodynamics, and it just sits really nice. And it also feels great. It has an unusually designed CNC milled face, which makes Cobra drivers very distinctive. And the design has changed slightly over the last few years, but it is still something which is in the most modern Cobra drivers as well. Yeah, I just love the look of this one. Oh, absolute rocket as well to finish. See ya. So, forgiveness, and I can't really pick any other club to begin with than the Ping G425. This is still currently a new driver, but the new Ping driver, the brand new Ping driver, that is on the way. Now that will lead to a reduction in cost for this club new and also second hand. Now this is the max version of the G425, so this is the most forgiving club, and this is all geared towards off-center strikes. Now the reason behind this club is pretty simple. If you strike it out the middle, you're going to get a nice drive, but if you strike it out the heel and the toe, that's where you're going to see a huge difference, because it's going to try and get the ball as hard as it can onto the fairway for you. Some drivers you can really tune in for distance, as we will see in this video, stay tuned for that. But these three drivers are all about, if you hit it out the heel, out the toe, you're just going to get the most forgiveness. Which, if you actually look at most amateur golfers, that's what they need. They need to find the fairway more often. So this is one of the drivers that followed the Ping G410, which you've already seen on the golf course. And when you look down, you can actually see the similarities. This driver has a big footprint. Behind the ball, it inspires confidence, and that's what this is all about. Is having a club that you can stick down behind the ball and feel confident that even on a dodgy strike, you can send it down the fairway. Next up, we have the Mizuno STZ, and this really exemplifies what you should be looking for if you want a forgiving driver. It's a 460cc head. That is the maximum allowed. That rule is set down by governing bodies. If you went bigger than that, you could actually get an even more forgiving driver. So 460 is the maximum. I've got this set at 10.5 degrees, but the higher the loft, generally the more forgiving that driver is also going to be. Also, you can see with the design of this driver, we have a back weight. And what Mizuno have tried to do with this driver is pull weight to the back of the club head. This lowers the CG, so the center of gravity, pushes it further back in the head, which allows for a bit more forgiveness and also helps with a higher launch. I have to say as well, I absolutely love the look of Mizuno drivers. I think they're vastly underrated. I mean, Mizuno irons, everyone knows how good they feel, but the drivers feel fantastic as well. Love it. Absolutely love it. Now, my favorite in this category is the Callaway Fusion. Still one of the most forgiving drivers ever made, and it really brings together a lot of what we've spoken about. So you can see the head shape, how it's a little bit more of a triangle compared to some of the other drivers, and there's a big back weight. So again, what Callaway have done here is they pulled a lot of the club head weight into the back of the club to help forgiveness and help launch. Callaway also use a lot of carbon in this club head to try and strip weight away, and again, put it in the back of the club head. It's a recurring theme here. Everything here is just geared towards forgiveness. One of the key things you want to be looking for is if it strikes the toe and if it strikes the heel, the club face is going to twist. Now, the most forgiving drivers, they have a resistance to this twisting. It's called moment of inertia, and this driver has an exceptionally high MOI. Oh, The memories, man.
Every time I've been out on the course with this thing, it is just an absolute fairway finding machine. Now with me and how I swing the club, that's a little bit too much backspin, so 4,300. I tell you what, if I manage to find one of these drivers in a low loft and get the right shaft in it, oh, I just love it. Just love it. Cowards, bring back the fusion.
So drivers with an X factor, what type of golfers are looking for these clubs? Well, if you want something which starts a conversation, something with a little bit extra, but also doesn't lay down on performance, because remember, we still have to get this thing off the tee. And first up, I've chosen one of these. This is a TaylorMade mini driver. Brands have started to release these. They're effectively a 1.5 wood, 11.5 degrees, club head smaller than usual, again halfway between a 3 wood and a driver, but the look and the feel is of a much earlier club, and I've got to be honest, I forgot how much I love this club. The sound on this is unlike any of the other drivers within this video. It feels a lot more old school, and yet, actually looking at the driver, it's got the carbon crown, it's got a weight in the back, it's got this speed pocket. It's a driver which will actually perform on the course. Generally, I saw a lot of golfers start to put this club into play who aren't confident with a full size driver, who want a little bit more forgiveness. It sounds quite strange, but this sitting behind the ball, it looks pleasant, it looks easy to hit. But I have to say, I think TaylorMade have made a fantastic club here. Oh, every time. I'll actually leave a review that we did of this kind of in the corner here. It was definitely the most accurate driver that I've ever tested. When you're looking for a driver with that X factor, something unusual often helps, something which other players don't have in their bags. And a great place to look is Japan. Now this is a Honma TR20 driver. This is the 440 version. It has 3 weights in the bottom which can be interchanged to alter ball flight. It's a very simple looking driver behind the ball. There's no graphics on there. There's no crazy carbon popping out, even though that is a feature of this driver. But it just feels, it just looks spectacular. You may know Honma from its Beres range where it has gold drivers. You're talking upwards of $5 for a single club. But the TR20, this was one of Honma's first ventures into a cheaper driver. And I think they made an absolute crack. It just looks so simple. I'm just hitting these lovely little buttercuts into the middle of the fairway. My top recommendation in the X Factor category is the Nike Vapor Pro, or the Nike Vapor Pro. Now, if you're talking about a driver with X Factor, this has it in abundance. You of course have the striking nuclear vomit green, or as Nike called it, Volt. Pretty sure it was called Volt anyway. It's striking. I actually don't mind it. I think it looks quite cool. But this driver was when Nike really started to hit their stride with golf clubs. I thought that this was the first driver that they produced which really competed with what other clubs had out on the market. The driver before, the Covert, did that as well, but this was really the best one for me. Oh, just get right, get right. That's pretty good. So it started to mix materials within the crown. It scooped a lot. That was a cow. We've got a screaming cow on the golf course, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, they've got a construction here where they've scooped weight out the back. They've positioned it a little bit further forward and lower. Align that with the classic shape. I know the graphics on top aren't classic, but this is actually a good, better player's driver. This driver also represents quite a sad story because Nike, one release after this one, stopped making clubs altogether. They canned it, which was a shame because they were really starting to get somewhere. But for a little piece of golfing history of a manufacturer that doesn't make clubs anymore, this is a great option. One. Oh, rocket down the left side. That's in the air forever. I reckon this could still compete. By the way, the person who last owned this driver, absolute ball striking suprema. Just above centre, a little high launching low spinner from that part of the club face.
So the best clubs for distance, and you really want to be understanding what you're letting yourself in for with these golf clubs. And a perfect example of this is the SLDR from TaylorMade. This was a driver that ushered in a new wave of design technology, because what TaylorMade did is they actually pushed the center of gravity that we spoke about in the forgiving drivers further forward. Now with a very forward CG, that allows you to really lower the spin on a driver, but it also takes away a lot of forgiveness. So if you're looking for a driver that gives you a lot of distance, then clubs which go back to the SLDR are a fantastic option, but you need to remember that there are going to be drawbacks. So the spin on that last drive was 1,475. So low, carry 283, and it just ran on for absolutely ever. I wonder if I can just hit up on this a little bit more, get it launching. That's just gone to absolute boom town. Straight as an arrow, carry 303. Oh. But that was a center strike. When I start to go towards the heel and the toe of this club, the forgiveness really drops off. So if you want a massive hitting drive and you can strike near the center of a golf club, here we go. Now the second driver I have picked is also a TaylorMade, the M1. And this is for a few reasons. So this was a follow-up to the SLDR. And just notice what they've done in the bottom of this club. We have two different weight tracks. We have a weight track along the front to help a fade or a draw bias, but also there's a weight track in the back. Because what we spoke about before about having a driver with the weight pushed forward, it's less forgiving. What TaylorMade tries to do with this driver is give golfers the option of shifting it further back if they weren't quite hitting it as well. But you'll also see with this driver, there are some different design variations. They've got a carbon crown on top, which meshes really well into a titanium front. It's actually a really modern looking driver, despite it being a fair few years old now. It still feels great. Still feels so good. Now for distance, my top recommendation is the TS3 from Titleist. So this is 2 driver series ago for Titleist, and yet in a recent test that I did, it still kept up. It was still one of the best performing. Driver-wise, this is really simple. It's got an interchangeable weight port at the back, but it's just really thin as far as the titanium crown is concerned. The weight is positioned for optimal launch. Behind the ball, it has a very classic design, a design which better players generally will be drawn to. And one great thing about the TS3 is, yes, it goes far. Yes, the ball speed is very high. It also feels just great. Just great. There's something with drivers that you need to bear in mind. The legal limit to how fast the ball can come off the club face, manufacturers have been pushing up against that limit for quite a few years now. The TS3 went right up against that limit straight away. So if you get something like this, you're not going to be missing out on distance and ball speed. 315 yards carry, ball speed at 175. It's not bad. So guys, hit that like button if you've enjoyed this video, and also get down into those comments below. Let us know what driver you are currently using and if you think you need an upgrade. Huge thank you to channel partners Golf Bidder for getting behind this video and allowing me to translate all this information. If you have enjoyed this video and you want to see more Golf Bidder content, may I suggest these? A couple of £500 Golf Bidder challenges I did with Rick Shields.